Oh, wow. Saw it twice, so I was like, oh my god.
That was just weird.
I always used to see a light coming up,
Yeah.
like a headlight, but there was nobody there.
Oh, it's just disappeared.
Well, everybody, welcome to Truth Proof. I hope you've all had a good weekend. Not got too wet because it's been wet and miserable here, but let's hope the rest of the week's going to be better. Tonight, I'm going to be talking with Mark and Ian, who are part of a group of us that go up onto cliff tops. We wanted to get Jack and Chris Mack to come on as well, but they couldn't make it. I've seen Chris has managed to get into chat, so good to see you, Chris. So what we're going to do, it's your show, guys, so it's questions led. So if you want to put your questions in capitals to ask Mark or Ian about some of the things that we've been seeing and experiencing up there, you've heard us talking about it over the last God knows how many, 2 or 3 years. And you'll just get a bit of a different perspective than just me yarning on about it, because it's good to get other people's views and their experiences. You know, it's not life-changing, it's not smoking gun ufology, but what we're seeing up there, it really is interesting, and it is a little bit different. So before we jump into it and bring Ian and Mark on, let's just have a look who's in chat. We've got just about 200 people in here, so good. Thanks for the support, everybody. So we've got Karen Behrman, Nuki Brown, I'm not going to be saying 200 names, Jill Olson, Andrew Wild, Jackish, Brannon Harris. Let's have a look. I think Mrs. Lynn is in. Mia Girl, Dragonborn, good to see you. Zeno, Escape. Gemma's doing moderating. I'm not sure if Alison will be or Lee, but thanks for doing it anyway, Gemma. Steve-O, Richard Bennett, Stargaze Returnal. Have I got to say this one? I'm sure. Let me just check. I'm not going to say it. Oh, it's Hot Rocks. I thought it said something else. Sorry about that. Al Durham, let's have a look. And Geordie Explorer. I need to get my glasses wiped, don't I? And Kim King. So let's jump into it. Let's bring Ian and Mark in, and questions in capitals, and let's see where this goes. Hello, Mark. How are you doing?
Not bad. You can hear me, can't you? Is everything clear?
You're fine. And Ian, good to see you, mate.
Good evening, everybody.
Yeah, great stuff. So you've just heard me talking about what we've seen, what we've experienced up there, and I reckon over years, people have heard us say, oh, Mark usually comes about an hour later than rest of us, always sort of wanders down and, you know, and sort of, well, you get involved in it. You've always had an open mind, Mark, haven't you? You've always been looking at things like this.
Yeah, I have an open mind, and we've all seen different things, and maybe we've all got our own different thoughts on what it might be. There is a few different thoughts, and I'm sure one or two of them aren't far on. But are they all connected, or are they all different? I don't know.
I think everybody's opinion's valid. I mean,
Yeah,
Ian thinks slightly different to me. You think slightly different to me, but we're all on a similar path. And have you seen it grow then, Ian? What we've been looking at, what we've been involved in up there with Pete and Jack and Mark and everybody else that comes up. Have you seen things change?
Things have changed a lot. I mean, it started a long time ago when it was just you and I think it was Steve, wasn't it, going up there, and Bob Brown.
Yeah.
And then sort of like Pete, them sort of like people petered off, and then Pete started going up there with you all the time. Then I started going up there all the time, and then Mark, and then Jeremy, and now Jack and Chris Mack. And we've got a good group of people going up there, and we're all experiencing things. Sometimes we're all experiencing the same thing as a collective. Sometimes we're experiencing things in a totally different way. And, you know what I mean? There's only 3 of us on here tonight. Jack's in Brazil, and hello to Jack and Barbara. But, you know, it's good to get Mark on here. It's his first time he's been on here. But how Mark comes across to me is he thinks things over and over. I presume, you know what I mean? Tell me if I'm wrong, Mark, but you're a fairly deep thinker, aren't you? You really think things through.
I can be, and I like to, thinking it from different directions, like how we all feel about it. I think we're quite consistent because somebody will ask the question, how did you all feel when you saw that light or that sphere? And as I say, we're all quite consistent. We're all pretty well laid back. Nobody's frightened or all like that. It's just just a laid back, and what with that?
It's been a good experience, and I think it's ramping up. Just before we come on, obviously I'm talking to Ian and I'm talking to Mark, and I said to Mark, didn't I, Ian? I said, do you think it's ramping up? Do you think things are becoming even more interesting? We're no longer looking at well, we do look for lights in the sky, obviously, but we're not as sort of, I don't know, entrenched in that, because how's it changing?
I've said, sorry if I'm cutting across you there, Matt, but I've said before that when we first started to go there, we was looking out to the sea and looking in the sky over the sea, up and down from north to east and south to west, all around sort of like, whereas now we're looking everywhere. We're looking on the ground. We're expecting things to happen, you know what I mean? Like the little light thing that we've had. We're expecting things, well, I'm expecting things 2-3 feet away from us, not, 300 to 30, 40 miles away. So it has changed, definitely changed.
Well, that might be a good place to start, because me and Ian have talked about that light that kind of visited us on cliff tops. And you were there that night, Mark, and obviously nobody's heard your perspective. I mean, I don't know whether you saw as much as us. There were 7 of us, weren't they? And you'll remember it. What were your views on that?
I didn't quite pick it up as much as you lot did. I was at the other end of the circle of people.
You were.
And somebody was in my way. So when this small sphere appeared, I could see it, not directly, but on the other side of the person. And I could see the shades of it moving. It was as if it were what I could see, a torch in somebody's pocket flashing about, but it was obviously a sphere, as you lot described, moving about, but I couldn't see it directly. I could just see the reflection of it around.
Around us. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Just before, because I think we better do some of these questions, otherwise we're going to get swamped. It's pretty simple to answer. Have you ever considered doing a podcast live from cliff tops? Yeah, I think we ought to do that. I don't think it's something I'd want to do regularly, but I don't see why not. It's if anybody wanted to participate, isn't it? There's some people that go up there that they're a bit private, aren't they? And might not want to be involved in it. Although it's very dark, so they wouldn't have to be, would they? What do you think?
I personally think it would be a good idea. Yeah, okay. It would be.
All right. Any views on that, Mark?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, and maybe have one straight after an experience. See if we can give the description out straight away. Because sometimes if you spot something, you might think about it, amplify one thought of it, and miss another thing what you've forgotten. So to get it all out straight away, sometimes I think it can be good, nice and fresh.
You're spot on, and memory of it's not going to get distorted either. You're bang on.
Yeah, that's one.
Yeah, there's one more here. Hi, guys. I'd like to touch on the shadow people. Are they spiritual or possibly alien entities? And have they shown or attempted communication? Well, apart from me and Ian, I think Mark's probably the only one that hasn't seen that up there, aren't you, Mark? Or have you now?
No, I haven't, unfortunately. I keep looking and thinking, but no, I'll be honest, I haven't seen one as yet.
But that's what we like about Mark, isn't it, Ian? Because he's not going to bend it. If he hasn't seen it, you're going to get truth from this fella every time.
Yeah, he says it as it is, which is great.
What's your thoughts on that? What are they, in your opinion?
I mean, how can I say really? But I think there's multiples there. I mean, the thing that I've seen that it resembles the shape of a person, and it's a big person, let's say. But we've also seen small ones that we used to see on the top stand. That we had a run of that for quite a few months, and they was really small, and there was there wasn't running, but there was like a child just trotting past. So whether that's spirit, who's to know? The bigger ones, who's to know? But the black masses that I've seen, the black mass on a few occasions now, I don't think that's been like an earthborn spirit of something that's actually walked the earth. I think it's potentially something else. But it's not only me that's seen that. I mean, Jeremy's seen that. I mean, what I saw, it was big. And Jeremy's seen something very similar in a slightly different place, which didn't resemble a person. So whether spirit can manifest like that, who's to know? We're only guessing. Can only guess.
I think you might have been up there that night, Mark, when we've had people unconnected to anything we do. Can you remember the guy who said he'd got the legs walking at the side of him?
Yeah, and I think that is a good point where, apart from me, all you lot have seen this dark figure or dark shapes. People have come up and they don't know much about it, and they've experienced it themselves and give a very similar description to it, which sort of confirms it a bit more, doesn't it? If one person sees something, it's sort of, but when you're getting quite a few people getting the same thing, that's when it starts to have some value, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Well, Gemma's doing moderating, my daughter, and she came up, I don't know, early this year with her partner, and he's got no interest in probably listening to this, but he's got no interest in this. And we got back to car park. There were me, Gemma, and Jeremy, and we get back to car park, jumped in car, and Gemma says, "Tell me, Dad, what you saw." And I stopped car and went back to Jeremy. I said, "Listen to this," because he'd not said a word. He thought he thought he was seeing things. So I just saw a shadow of a person walk past, put the torch on. There's nobody there. So and he's not been primed. You know what I mean? You might think that's, oh, it's your daughter and her husband. I've not seen Gemma for 4 years, should I say. And she's doing this now. I haven't seen her since that day. It's good that she's doing this for us, but no, he'd not been primed. And if you meet the fella, you know that he's not going to make something up like that. So it's interesting.
She lives considerable distance from you, though, don't you, Paul?
Oh yeah. It's about 3 or 4 hours away. Yeah, it is. Yeah. So I've got another question here from Rod. Have you ever tried to get someone from science background on the cliffs? See what they think. Yes, Rod. Yeah, we have. There were a guy came up, a physicist called Martin Eels. Martin wrote a bit of a paper because unbelievably he saw something, and so he I think I put it in book 1 or book 2, and he'd seen something out at sea that he couldn't work out, and well above horizon, and I ain't got it in front of me to do it justice, but basically it were a row of lights that tilted to a 45, and then they all shot away. So that one Martin, and then we've got another guy that myself and Ian, and I'm not sure if Mark were up there. And we'll just call him Richard, and he's got a science background, and Richard went to Reeton on holiday, a scientific background, and it's the guy that saw the sphere of light come out from the cliffs, go out over the sea, split into 2, and I think he watched it for an hour, and guess what? And you two can jump in on this one in a moment. Things started happening in his home when he got back home, so that were interesting. Yeah. So can anybody remember that guy coming up?
I can remember him. Yeah, he was quite intense on some of the things that he was talking about.
Yeah.
Again, he was straight talking, and he couldn't rationalise it. It shouldn't have been there, but he knew what he'd seen, and he saw it for a considerable amount of time.
Yeah.
Again, he said it's just gone through his head. He's thought of all different ways and means around it. But there's been other people that's been up there. I mean, I ain't going to say his name, but there's a guy who works abroad, Paul, he does psychological assessments on people.
Yeah.
So again, I can't say he's a psychologist because I don't know whether he's a psychologist. But he's a clever bloke, and he's listened to lots of things, and I don't know I can't remember what he's experienced himself. But they're not an everyday Joe. But even if they are an everyday Joe, an everyday Joe knows what, most people, some people are full of BS. And most of us get an idea if someone is full of BS. But if you've seen something, you know you've seen something. And some of these academic type of people have seen stuff up there, and they can't think of any way how they can explain it apart from it's unexplained.
Yeah, well, he sometimes comes in chat, the guy you're on about. He's really sought after all over the place for job that he does. Like you said, with his psychological assessments and intelligence tests. And he saw something up there himself. And that's what brings people. That's what draws them in, isn't it? They end up seeing things themselves. I mean, I don't know how deep Mark wants to go with this, but you know somebody that's seen something up there, Mark, don't you?
Yeah.
Pretty spectacular. Either go run with it or don't. It's up to you.
Well, it's my brother-in-law. He had a colleague that was up there early one morning, maybe just a sunrise, and he said there was a mist or a fog, and it was on the level of the cliffs, so he couldn't see the sea. I think he was up there bird watching or nature, visiting something to see a rare bird or something, but he was walking on the cliffs, and just above the fog there was a massive triangle, and it was reflecting silver, and it rose, and underneath you could see through, almost transparent, and after, I don't know, maybe 10 seconds it shot off level with the fog out to sea and disappeared. And he said it was ginormous, and he's never seen nothing like, well, obviously not like that before, and I don't think anyone else has reported anything similar.
No, it's spectacular, that, isn't it? I mean, I'm looking forward to it, hopefully speaking to him at some point. That would be brilliant. And incredible, that, Ian, isn't it?
It's a cracking sighting, and I'll look forward to the time that he comes up and you can talk to him, or we can talk to him.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, we had some lads up there from Hastings for a few days, haven't we?
They've come a straight run without stopping. It's 5.5 hours if the traffic's good. So it's right on the south coast. I think it was Boyd and Luke, if I remember rightly.
That's right, yeah.
Nice fellas, and I think they had a sighting on, I think it was Friday
night. Yeah, I've wrote it down. Yes, I've been 14.
Yeah, I think it was Friday night. Yeah,
of a big cat, which they allowed us to film them talking about it, and they're adamant what they've seen, and it were close.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
I mean, we spoke to them at length about it, and they said there was a distance apart. So the closest one to it, what he saw, he said he was only about 4 meters away from it, so it's 13 feet away. And the other lad said it was about maybe 14 to 15 meters, so 30 foot. So they're very close to what they've seen. He said he shone his torch on it. It was semi-crouched, but looking at him, it didn't really have a care in the world. He said it was very confident and just like skulked off. So they split up and went round this. There's a bit of a pond area, I think, and they tried to corral it. I mean, you either can call it brave or stupidity, running towards something that's, a potential predator, and there's nothing. They couldn't see anything, and they both said that there was more than versed in seeing wildlife on a night time, fox, deer, badger, etc. And he said it was none of them, and it was. What's unusual, well, it is unusual to a sense, is it wasn't a classic black cat. He said it was like a grey beige colour. But not that long ago, you had a report from Bert and Agnes in the daytime report, which is only the crow flies maybe 6-7 miles away from there. And that was a daytime sighting of two, what they came across saying is like beige lynxes, was it? Or pumas?
Pumas. She said that she were taking a pony to stables early morning, leading the pony in, and the bins back at Burton Agnes Hall. If people aren't familiar with it, do a bit of Google. It's a big old stately home type place. It's set in its own grounds, but at the back of it, there's an area. You know, the big bins, the big sort of 4 foot wide ones. It's kind of industrial. There's about 6 of them. They were in them bins. I mean, I don't think there's a paranormal aspect to these things. What do you think, Mark?
I don't know. It's a difficult one because cats apparently have a massive territory, don't they? So do they stay in one patch for a few days, and maybe the tracks and droppings are on? It's only going to be in that area to do a small patch, and then it's moved on to another. So the signs that are actually there physical are minimal, aren't they?
Yeah. You know, people say that there's not enough food, but I think there's an abundance of food in the UK. And I mean, Mark's as well placed as anybody. You spend a lot of time, or you have done in past, walking in night and camping out on moors and in Scotland, and you've come across everything, haven't you?
Yeah. There's a lot of options out there for the cat. I think a lot of people stick to footpaths and roads, but once you're off the road, there's that much wildlife out there. We don't see carcasses. There must be plenty of food out there for them.
Yeah.
There must be.
A question for you, Mark, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
You told us one night about you was out apart. We'll say it's part of your job that you was out on a night time with a lamp shining around, and you came across something that you said was very unusual. Could you put some light?
It was up about 10 minutes from Sober in a big field up back. I put a lamp on, and there were a pair of eyes. It wasn't a fox and it wasn't a deer. And it was going horizontal, well, straight the same distance across the field, not closer or further. They were going in a line. And it was on all fours, but it didn't look natural to be on all fours. It never stood up, but it looked like it could have stood up. And it brought its head round and looked straight at me. And I was looking at it on the lamp, and I don't know what it was. I've no idea what it was. Its back were arched. Its neck could have been longish, and its face, I don't know. And I'd say, colour of its eyes, I had a red lamp, so everything in that beam was red. So if you're lamping, you get different coloured eyes sometimes, but everything to me in that image was red, but I don't know what it was. I've no idea. No. It could have been something strange, or could it have been an injured deer, but I cannot say what it was. I've no idea.
You said its action, though, actually looking at you as not like a prey animal. It were looking at you, weren't it?
It did. It didn't flick to look at me like, if you put a lamp on a fox, it'll look at you, and maybe a deer will turn to look at you. But this sort of came round with a slow, I don't know. It was different things that were normal.
So it was like full of confidence then, and it wasn't bothered by your presence.
No, not at all. No, it didn't come closer or further. It stayed the same distance as it went across the field. Yeah.
So it didn't react like a prey animal would do.
Maybe, but the odd thing is, I hadn't seen it before, and I haven't seen it since.
No,
and going there 2 or 3 times a week in dark. So that was strange.
Yeah, and that you'd think you would, but that sort of, it's really good to hear that in a way, because there's Rob, who I was speaking to Ian about earlier today, who he's well retired now. He's in his 70s, but he were in Grindle, and he were in some woods called Fox Cover Wood. I don't know if anybody knows these woods, but he were in Fox Cover Wood, and it's years ago, but he were looking at wildlife. Let's just be that's the kindest thing I'm going to say. And as it says, the snow on ground and fields ploughed. He says you can see ruts and snow and dark sort of lines. He says, and there's a field at back of him and his friend. I saw it today, and I was talking to Ian about it. He says, and an animal jumped over the fence, over the hedge from the other field, which was higher. He said, and it didn't run on. It stopped like it were on Velcro. He says, literally, like a dog would jump over and have to keep moving, momentum, or a horse would. This stopped. He says, and it looked at us, and he says, it were built like a bodybuilder. He said, it were on all fours. He says, but I've never seen aught like it. His exact words where he says he had no arse. I'm sorry for saying it like that, but let's speak how he said it. He said it had big, thick back legs. He says, and this thing, it was just huge. He says, and he's still in area, this fella. He says, and I've sort of spent a lot of time around woodlands and fields. He says, and I've never seen it, just like you said, from this day to next. I've never seen it since, and I were all around those woods and everything. He says, and it were a brindle colour, and it were a dog, essentially, but huge. And he don't know, he hadn't a clue what it was that he saw as regards to put a name to it. He's not going to say it were I don't know, a lurcher or out. He said it was something he'd never seen before, so highly unusual.
Well, we saw something odd the week, didn't we, when we put that torch on in the corner of the field? We saw some deer. We saw some deer in the field, but then when I put my torch on in that corner, I put the torch on it and took it off because I'd seen a pair of eyes. And then when everyone were looking at it, it was sat with its back to us, and it was bigger than a fox. But deer don't sit down like that, do they? And then it turned its head to look at us all, didn't it?
Do you know, Mark, I'm losing the plot because I'd forgot you were with us.
Yeah.
I was going to ask Ian to talk about that. So you two just change your thoughts about that.
It's. I mean, where we came out. I mean, we came out of this woodland, and then there's a shallow bunch of trees that run up the side of the field, and then turn. So basically, on three sides of this field where we was looking, it's covered by woodland. And Mark had only early told us a story about this thing that he'd seen, that he just explained to us about. So we came walking along, we came out of these trees, and then Mark says, odds on, when we come out of these here, we'll usually see deer here. As soon as we turned the light on, there was, I don't know, 5 or 6 deer stood out in the middle of the field looking straight back at us. You could clearly see there was deer. Mark flicked his torch into the corner of the field, which is surrounded by woodland, and he said, there's something there. So he flicked it in again. Yeah, it's still there. So you and Chris Mack was looking through your thermal cameras, and both confirmed you could see it. And Chris was telling us what it was doing. You was telling you my thermal was still in my backpack, so I only got to see it with my lamp, with my torch. And it was there, and it was sat down, was this thing, and it didn't seem to have a care in the world. It kept looking at us, whereas a deer would usually keep focus on you. It'd watch you, and a fox would bob its head up and down and probably disappear into the undergrowth. But this thing didn't. It stayed there for quite some time. So what we decided to do is, you walked through the woods, and me and Mark stayed on the edge of the field and walked down.
Yeah.
When we all got there, it was gone. There was no sign of it. There was no tracks or anything. But it was quite big. And what you said afterwards is, you says, well, I don't think it was a deer because it was doing this, it was doing that. And then later on you says, but it had a big bushy tail.
Yeah. But it was sat down as well. Deer don't sit like a dog.
No.
And we have got this on film. Yeah, Chris has got more. Chris Mack's got more thermal of this than I've got, so it will be something that we'll play. But I don't know. Do you think it were a little bit different, Mark?
Yeah, I do. Maybe it is explainable, but
yeah,
I can't fit everything together and make something out of it. No, it is a strange one, that, especially how it was sat. You don't get a creature that size sat and then turns to look at us, because
it sat with its back to us and turned to look, didn't it?
Yeah, a deer doesn't sit down.
Not like a dog.
No, a deer has to go down and all the way down. It can't just sit like a dog. It was a strange one. And as it was sat, it turned to look at us as well, which again,
it was pretty cool, wasn't it? As in it didn't seem interested and worried in any way, shape or form about us. I mean, I've looked at it, I've measured it. I mean, it's sad as this, isn't it? But I measured it on Google Images, and from approximate where we was to where it was between 170 and 180 metres away. So it's fairly close.
Well, isn't that good? Because we measured it actually, 162 with a rangefinder. Went back and measured it. Yeah. So you were about there,
Yeah.
I'll just throw this up because Mark might know about this, because we've not been up there since. Well, we were up there last night, weren't we? But let's have a look what this is. Yesterday there were MOD Royal Signals up at RSPB Centre, parked up, had 2 MVGs on. Interesting. When were that, Shadow? I don't think, and I might not get down to seeing when it were, because we were up there last night and I didn't see anybody, but that, you know, when we left, there were nobody in car park, were they?
There was only us, weren't they? There
Yeah,
was only us.
So what time did you leave last night then?
We weren't that late because it were a bit of a. Them lads came from Hastings. We didn't know they were coming, and we knew they were up for weekend and or for a few days, and I knew they were up there. So Pete rang me. Do you want to go up? I rang Ian, see if he wanted to go up, and we just had a couple of hours, didn't we? Probably 6:30, 7:30, till 9 o'clock. Whereas normally we'd be there till, I don't know, 10:30, 11, won't we, or a bit later, depending if it's active, you know.
I mean, the lads from Hastings they'd been all over the place, hadn't they? They'd been up to Broxer, they'd been Dolby Forest, they'd been all over the place. So we want to know that they was actually going to be back there that night, did we?
No. I see Dragonborn. Are you okay with questions, Mark? Ian? Yeah?
Yeah, fine.
Yeah? Okay. So Dragonborn says, have any of you experienced other events at home? And if so, what? Well, I'm going to let you two kick this off. We definitely have. And not just at home, on way home as well. So,
yeah, I mean,
go
on. Where do you want to start? Because there's been, and it's not just me that's experienced at home. It's one of my daughters, it's my wife, it's my mother. But I think at the moment, because Mark's pretty new to this, I think if Mark's okay with telling us, you've had a few experiences at home as well, Mark?
Yeah, it's a cat, basically. We've got his own cat. We had 2 cats up until a couple of years ago. Unfortunately, we lost one. But we've seen this cat in the house. But because we've already got a cat, if you see it, you don't take any notice because you think it's the other cat, the actual cat we've got. So if I'm sat here and I'm looking across the room into the hall and I'll see a cat pass through the hall and take no notice, then I'll turn and the real cat's behind me on the settee. Yeah. So yeah, it is a strange. Now I've seen it a couple of times, but Lisa's seen it quite a few times. Just
playing devil's advocate, have you got up and checked a cat and come through cat flap and?
We don't have a cat flap.
Right, that's answered that one.
But no, we don't have one. So yeah, it is a strange one.
What about what's been happening then, Ian? Because I already know, don't I, people? But I've got to ask.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say it's always me because it's not. It's just what's happening. I mean, some of the things we've had loads of things on the phone, and I don't really, want to go into that too deeply because you've probably all heard it before. But only a couple of weeks back, it was watching your live stream, literally a Sunday live stream. When the Sunday live stream finished, maybe 20 minutes after, there was a flash of orange light right above my head that just flashed. And when I looked up, there was like a square orange thing on the ceiling. And I swear a lot. Yeah, I mean, not that I do swear, but I do. And I just shouted to my wife, "What is that?" And as soon as I said it, just went. My wife never saw anything. And then, literally, a bit later on, there was another flash, but this was a white flash. Again, my wife never saw it. Anyway, a few days passed. I was sat in the back, sat on the settee. My wife comes walking in. She went, "What was that?" And I'm like, "What?" She said, "I've just seen something like a light." I said, "Was it orange?" She says, "No." She said, "It was a little silvery white light that just appeared a third of the way down the door into the opening of the doorway and went down. And then it shot off at a funny angle between the wall and the dog." I never saw it, but my wife saw it. She was adamant. She'd seen it. So, okay, fair enough then. I'm not really surprised by this. And then my eldest daughter, daytime, was sat in the back room on the settee. The house was full of kids. And she just looked straight at me. She went, "Okay, fair enough." And I knew she was trying to communicate with me that something wasn't right. I said, "You all right?" She went, well, yeah, but I've just had something. I went, well, come in here then. So we went out the way. So, you know what I mean? The grandkids are hearing things. She said, I've just been touched. I went, right, okay. I said, where did she? Says, well, it was on, you know what I mean, on my head and my neck. So my wife says, because she's got long hair as already, she had her hair stuck up. She says, it's maybe a bit of your hair. She says, no. She said, it touched me neck and then just went up my head. She said it was like a soft caress. She said she didn't feel spooked by it. So again, it's like, what's that? And then it was last week, I think. I was having my tea. We sat in the back room, and we heard like a notification sound off a phone, which sounds, if you can set an alarm on your phone, like a beeping noise, beep 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 beep. We heard that coming in from behind me in the kitchen. So I looked at my wife. Is that your phone? She says, no, it must be your phone. I says, well, my phone's here on the side, and yours is over there. What's that? So it's maybe something the kids have left. Then we heard it again, and we finished up hearing it 3 times. This mobile phone type of alarm. We've looked. There's nothing there. There's nobody. There's only our phones in the house. There's nothing there. Anyway, a little bit later on, you've turned up, Paul. We've got in your car, and we've on our way to the cliffs. Gets back, I don't know, 11:30, 12 o'clock on a night time. My wife's still awake. I says, all right, she said, have you seen anything? I says, well, I can't remember what we'd seen, maybe bits and pieces, maybe. And she says, I heard that alarm again. I went, oh, really? She says, but it wasn't the same alarm. I went, what do you mean? She says, it was an old, like, ringing from an old-fashioned wind-up alarm clock. She said, I heard bells ringing like an alarm clock for 2 or 3 seconds in the kitchen. She said she just sat there. She didn't want to ring me because she knew you drove me up there and you would have to bring me back. So she said, I just sat there for, 10, 20 minutes and thought, I'm off to bed. She said, because I was starting to shit myself a little bit. She was quite worried. So she went to bed out the way and nothing. I mean, what's that all about? I mean, synthetic alarm and then a clockwork alarm?
But none of it makes sense, does it? We're getting weird noises in house ourselves. And like, I weren't trying to catch Mark out. I was just thinking he's got a cat flap and maybe a cat's come in. They've not noticed it, but he's ruled that out straight away. Yeah. And a few weeks ago, only 2 weeks ago, I said I'd seen that blue light. I thought Mary had got a little light in her hand. I asked her to show me. And she hadn't, and then it appeared on dog, a little blue light. Nothing makes any sense. Gemma, I'll not go into details, but she's not. She came up there. I don't. She'll tell us early this year or late last year, but in last I think 3 weeks she's been, and she don't get frightened easy. She's been frightened. She says there's something in the house. I don't know whether any of that applies to us because she's not coming up there regular, but things are happening. There's strange things afoot. But we're not only getting that, Mark. I don't think you've heard these on Cliff Tops either. But we went into Danes Dyke, myself, Ian, Martin Abbas, Jack, Chris Turner, Lee, and we were in Danes Dyke about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
I don't know exactly.
3 weeks, yeah.
And Lee's got his parabolic mic, Mark, and he's set that up, and we're in dark. We're near Water Culvert near Road, and I'm just talking as I do, and just telling people a few things that have happened around that area. And somebody said, "Paul," which is not unusual. We've heard it before.
I remember you saying that now.
Yeah, well, what were really good were my little camera's picked it up. I know people are always going to say in chat who don't know as well. It'd be one of you lads who said it. It weren't. I don't think anybody even noticed it, did they?
No, only you.
I turned around and said, did somebody just speak? So my camera picked the audio up and Ian's picked the audio up. So what I've done, I've put that bit of film together. You're going to have to listen hard, guys, for it being said, but we'll put it on and see if you can pick it out. It's clearer on Ian's than mine. So shall we put it on?
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, all right. He says, I just changed my Wellingtons and this thing put its head between the fence post. Did you say something, Chris? No, I thought you said Paul, sorry. Just Just. Obviously, I did that. He says, I've just changed my Wellingtons and this thing put its head between the fence post. Did you say something, Chris? No, I thought you said Paul, sorry. Hold on. Oh, I thought I'd got the repeat of Paul. Apologies, guys. So we didn't get that. I mean, we'll play it again. Did you hear it or didn't you hear it, Ian?
Yeah, you could hear it. Yeah, you could hear it.
I heard it
He
as
says,
well.
I've just changed my Wellingtons and this thing put its head. He says, I've just changed my Wellingtons and this thing put its head between the fence post. Did you say something, Chris? No, I thought you said Paul, sorry. Just. He says, I've just changed my Wellingtons and this thing put its head between the fence post. Did you say something, Chris? No, I thought you said Paul, sorry. And we know it's not a lot in grand scheme of things. We've heard a voice, but that's happening up on cliff tops as well. Not just to me. It happened with Jack, didn't it?
Yeah, Jack Aid. I mean, Jack and Pete was you'd gone wandering off doing your little filming as you do from time to time. It was a windy night, if I remember rightly, and Jack and Pete thought they heard you shout. I can't remember what it was, but they thought they heard you shouting. And then I think Jack picked the audio up, or someone picked the audio up where he had "excuse me,"
yeah,
excuse me, right in his ear. But the thing is that I need to say is about this is you was in the middle of, when I was filming that, you was in the middle of telling us one of your stories. And Lee and Chris was actually setting up the parabolic microphone in the background, which is, unfortunately, they hadn't put it fully together. Otherwise, that thing would have definitely picked that up.
Yeah.
And it's only how I came across it was I was just going through the footage, reviewing some of the footage. And when you turn round and you look and you said to Chris, did one of you say something? So I rewound it, and then you can clearly hear it say Paul. But you, as it says it, you look round, you look. So you've heard, well, obviously you've heard it because you mentioned it. But yeah. I am surprised. I mean, some of the things that must have been caught on video and the audio that we've missed. I mean, I don't know if you're going to put it on later on or tonight or maybe at some point. But you've picked something else up on the audio. I mean, if I'm jumping forward here,
you're wrong. Wait, go on. Wait, what are we on about the Danes Dyke stuff?
Well, there's the Danes Dyke stuff, but then there's the thing in the car, isn't there, for what the dash cams picked up.
Let's play that and get Mark's opinion, and because it'd be interesting. That I found today that I sent you.
Yeah. You literally. It's only just emerged today because I didn't. I mean, it was just nearly a year ago when this was done. It's just bits of footage that I've sent to you because something else had happened later on that's actually on camera. You've reviewed it and you've found something in the audio.
Yeah, well, it's a repeat area. So like you said, you've got the dash cam rolling all the time, which is a great thing to have. And we've had just near, what do they call it? Is it Newsham Hill, Mark? What do they call that hill? Just out of village.
Newsham Hill.
Hill. So we've had that flash of light above my car, which I saw, and it's in your dash cam. And we've had the other flash that you saw that's obviously in dash cam, again, my car. So obviously that's a place that we're always kind of monitoring as we're driving home, to the point where Ian will put camera on, Psionics on, and just sort of film as we're going. It's not happened. It's almost like when we're expecting it, it doesn't happen. But I will listen. He give me a bit of footage today. Ian called round for an hour, and I just listened to it afterwards. Now, listen, it's not pareidolia, but I'm just hoping that you can pick this up because it's you and your wife driving home, isn't it, Ian?
That's right, yeah, and was actually the car in front of us is Carl and Sarah, and right. it comes up. I think it's the 30th of December last year.
Right. Okay, so we'll play this, and I've put it. This is the one I've put on a loop. I should have put that Paul on a loop for everybody to hear of yours. But let's just hear this and see what people think.
Possibly. Possibly.
Anybody hear it? Did you hear that, Mark?
I heard that, yeah.
What did you think it said? I think it says freezing.
It could be freezing and stretched out as if they were trying to whisper it or something.
It really strange. He's had that footage for a year, so it's definitely nothing to do with Ian. And as regards, do we know? Because we've just not picked up on it. I was just looking at it today because it were in with something else we were looking at, and I thought I heard a voice there. I'm sorry for boring you guys, but shall I play it again? Let's just have another listen. So you know that the person saying possibly is Ian's wife. So, or is it possibly or possible? But here we go.
Possibly. Possibly. Possibly.
Sorry if that were a bit loud, everyone, but I'm hoping people could hear it.
Fine. It's fine. I mean, when you rung me up and you said you'd found something, I mean, you didn't. You've done that before, but that was on you, Seville, wasn't it? That thing peeping out the edge. So I was expecting that, something like that. And then when you showed us, I mean, you says, "Here, I'll send it to you," which you did. So my wife came in and my wife was listening to it, and it freaked her out a little bit, and it freaked me out because my wife seems to think that it's saying ice, cold, freezing.
Since you might be right.
One of my daughters is listening to it, and she seems to think it's eyes, freezing. Whichever word it is first, or words, the last one is definitely freezing, and it sounds a softly spoken female, which is neither me nor my wife, do you know what I mean? And haven't a clue how it's or what that is that's picked that up. But it seems pretty spooky.
What do you get from that, Mark?
I thought it was saying, "Christ, it's freezing," because Lisa says that a lot.
Right.
Yeah, I thought it was a long whisper of "Christ, it's freezing."
It was a strange one, but but we've had all sorts driving home and feeling sensation of being touched on, and there'll be people watching this who probably aren't into it as much as what we're into it. And believe me, this is evolving, and it's moving away even from cliff tops. It seems to be with us, whatever it is we're dealing with. But while we're on with sound, I always put some little voice recorders in Dane's night because people have told me that they've heard unusual sounds in there, and it's such a boring process, Mark and Ian, because it'll record in whatever, I don't know, segments that if it's raining for 7 hours, it'll record 7 hours of just rain sound, and it's just a pain having to go through it all. So you're putting it into DaVinci and looking at the waveforms, and I've only got these two little bits, and I'll play these. This is quite weird. Let's just, what did I call it? November sounds. So have a listen to this. What have you heard like that before? Because the two different times, them, and that thing that I don't know what the hell it sounds like. I'll be honest with you. Any thoughts?
No, I have no idea on that.
They're in Danesdyke, and I've got the full. There's nothing being added or taken away. I've got the full sequence of that night or that day. I think it's night time actually, because you can hear Dawn Chorus earlier on, and then you just it's voice activated or sound activated. So you've got that noise, which then separate. There's probably a good length of time between other one with that whatever it's doing. I'll play it one more time, and let's have a look.
So how far off the pathway?
No, I'll tell you in a minute. The next one's separate. And you can't win with this, you know. Somebody's going to say that you've put some special effects on there. You know what I mean?
I mean, when I heard it this afternoon, the first one was the funny, you know what I mean, like the howling type of whatever it is type of noise, which to me is like something off a spooky film. And then when the second one went, I mean, I won't say it on here what I said to you, but it began with an F. And that just sounds like, that doesn't sound natural at all. I mean, that sounds really electronic. Mm-hmm. And straight away, you was animated as you usually are, saying, no, that's 100%. I'll show you I'll play the video, the original recording. And obviously, I believe you 100%.
Well, I've got it. And what's interesting, the last time I did it, we got owls, didn't we? And we agreed it might have been a 410. Somebody in there who shouldn't have been in. But you got people in chat saying I've put a synthesized sound on and things. You know, you can't win.
No.
Why would you? Any thoughts on that before we close that down, Mark?
That second one, it sounds like a CB breaking a channel. How you've got a bleep on your CB when you're speaking, then you turn it off and then come back on.
Interesting, because you don't know. And you asked me where it were. Did you know where Peter's camp used to be?
Vaguely. Was it down the back, up the other side?
Well, you know where I know we're talking here, people. We've got like 350 people here, so we'll keep it brief, because otherwise we're having a conversation between ourselves. You know where you walk with them concrete posts were in top?
Yep.
And you look down into Dyke and on others, that's where those voice recorder was set up. It was there.
It's quite remote there. Not a lot of people are going to go down there.
They're not. That's why it was there. You know what I mean? That's why it was there.
I mean, some of the other recordings that's come out, you can tell they're animals. I mean, you can hear the birds, you can hear birds chittering, you can hear stuff scratching about, and there's actually part of it you can hear a badger snuffling around. And like you say, you've got absolutely hours and hours and hours
of it.
Yeah, mundane stuff. And then you've managed to capture that. I mean, Mark, what would you think of the last one? I mean, I know you said CB, but can you think of anything in nature that sounds
nothing
that could be there that would be making an electronic synthesized type of sound?
No, nothing.
Well,
it's like a 5 or 6 tone bleep. Like I mentioned, it used to do that. Some breakers used to have it on the CB, didn't they, or a walkie-talkie if you break off your channel. That's all that was related to.
Well, I'll send some of these to probably, seriously, one of the straight down the line people that's in chat, and I saw him in earlier. I don't know if he's in now, but message me next day or so. Is Al Durham, and I'll send them to Al, because Al did say he'd go through them for me. Because he'd find it interesting. So I might fire some of these across, because I think I'm missing half of it, because I'm just looking at these waveforms, but there's still weird sounds in between it all. And we know you can interpret all sorts, but I mean, we're not that stupid. I mean, we're used to being out in wilds. We heard some sounds on it when we were listening to it this afternoon, and we both instantly said, that's a pigeon. But we're nothing to see, and just know it's that heavy clap of them wings are close up. Do you know what I mean? A big fat wood pigeon or something. But anyway, let's just have a quick look here. Well, I think we've got something else on these, the shadow about the Royal Signals. It was at 8 p.m. Royal Signal crests in jackets in black. Land Rover Discovery vehicles. Again, they are there. Does he mean again they are there tonight? I don't know. But it's interesting. I used to have a motorbike. Go on, Matt, Ian.
Sorry, there is an operation going on at the moment, isn't there? It's going on for some time. So possibly Royal Signals are there to do something to do with the, the exercise that's going on over the North Sea and the North Yorkshire Moors.
Yeah. There's not forced to be anything mysterious about it. Yeah, I think that's a good point, isn't it? I had a motorbike that were Royal Signals, ex-Royal Signals years ago. Were stunt bike. It were great. TUE 35G, Triumph Tiger 100. I would say this because Mark's got one, haven't you? You've got a Tiger 90.
Yeah, I've had her fired up today just to have a every week or two. She needs to swell it all around inside to keep it going.
Yeah, just to keep it breathing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But just another thing. When we're about things in his houses and at home.
Well, that'll apply. Go on, mate.
Lisa reminded me, and I'm sure a lot of viewers have had the same thing. Obviously, neither of us two smoke, and our neighbours don't smoke, but there's been a lot of occasions in this house where we've had the strong smell of cigarettes.
Really?
Yeah.
What? I mean, I don't know, but what do you attribute that to? Spirit type activity, like somebody who used to smoke there, or?
Yeah, apparently we had somebody staying or living here, renting, and they were a smoker, an old lady. I'm not sure whether it was the lady that was here before us, but she has passed away now. But as I said, we can both smell it, and obviously if you don't smoke, I'm sure a lot of people know, if you don't smoke, cigarettes stand out, don't they?
Absolutely, yeah. We drove home from Cliffs, myself and Ian. I don't know how long since, maybe 6 months since, maybe. And we got to end of is it Jewson Lane?
Yeah,
past Muntons and Martonian, and we were hit by an absolutely foul smell. And now you could say, like, yeah, somebody's been spraying fields, but it stayed with us all the way down the road, didn't it? But as that were happening, I'm saying to Ian, there's something touching me hand. You realise a lot of what we're saying today, people, what Mark's saying, Ian saying, myself, we haven't got an ounce of proof. It's all what's in here and what we've experienced. But you've got to run with it. And I know that bulk of people in here, unless you've just come in to roll your eyes and laugh, have probably had experiences themselves. But we got that bit on your dash cam, didn't we? Not the smell, but...
Yeah, we did. I mean, I ain't going to go into details about it, but I'd had quite a strong interaction with something on the cliff tops, maybe half an hour before that had happened, not even that.
That's the dark mass, isn't it?
Yeah, so I'm not surprised that something else decided to make its presence known, because we're getting down there and we could smell this smell, and I don't know whether you're going to put any of the video on, but part of the video we can't put that on because we're both swearing at how bad this it was a stench that just... I'm not. Yeah. Well, I won't either. And anyway, the car filled with this stench, absolutely awful. And then literally just as that's starting to happen, Paul says that he can feel something touching his hand. You can hear him saying that, and then it's only a short part of the video is that. But then something else happens a little bit later on the way home, which is, again, I didn't hear it. It was only when I reviewed the video the next morning that you can hear it. But listening to the sounds that you recorded in the day, there's a part of that toward the first audio. Part of that sounds very similar to what's been picked up on the dash cam in the car. To me, it does anyway. To everybody else, it might seem different. But I didn't hear that in the car. I obviously heard you saying you was being touched on your hand, but that's happened before down there. I think that's maybe the third time that's happened, that when you've been passenger, you felt something touching your arm or your hands.
Yeah, that's right. Well, just put that bit on. As regards that sound you heard, I don't know if it's going to be loud enough for anybody to hear, but we'll put this touching hand one on. Yeah. I'm just going to go back briefly because you can hear Ian say it stinks again.
It stinks again, doesn't it? Yeah. When she said she saw it go light, it'd be interesting if felt like there was something touching my hand then. Yeah. Yeah, just back of my fingers then.
So just get that again.
If
It stinks again, doesn't it?
yeah. When she said she saw it go light, it'd be interesting if. Felt like there was something touching my hand then. Yeah, yeah.
I've got a few times, haven't you?
Yeah, just back of my fingers then.
Okay. I think we just caught Ian saying flipping heck.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
very much so.
So, Paul, do you think the light form is now visiting at home after the blue light you saw recently? Steve, I think that we're all to some degree experiencing things. I mean, Chris Mack's in chat, and you know, Chris will be first one. He's a bit like Pete. Well, Pete, not a man of few words, but he's not bothered about coming on here. But Chris is quiet, very quiet. But he's been coming up there, and now I'll wait till he might come on and tell us. We might get him on eventually. Strange things have started happening in his home, and is it all some kind of mass contagion, and we're all imagining it? I don't think we are. Mark's not imagining seeing a cat passing in his hallway, and I know I didn't imagine seeing that blue light. You know, and you can't imagine that voice that says freezing in car. These things are happening, and what it is, I don't know.
We had something last week, didn't we, when we were all up there? I didn't actually see it, but one of you was stood on the front of the fence on the cliff, and they saw a light right out at sea, and we just stood there, and when that light come out there, he was looking at the cliff, and he saw a light on the cliff, but his description of the light wasn't a light on the cliff. He was saying it looked as though it were coming out of the cliff, and that were two separate people at the same time.
And go on, Ian.
That was Jack and Amanda.
It was, yeah.
Amanda was looking straight out to sea, and Jack was looking inland towards the cliffs. And Jack saw a light. As I remember it, he saw like a light on the cliff and then come off the cliff. And then, as Jack says it was a nanosecond later. Amanda says, I've seen a light." Mm-hmm. So the way it sounds, is it possibly the same light that's come off the cliff and then shot out to sea? That because literally there was back to back. Amanda facing one way, Jack facing the other. No one else saw it. It was just Jack and Amanda.
Their voices were that close together in saying it. Jack was slightly in front because he said he sent to punch out at Cliffs, didn't he, out of the rock face?
Yeah.
And he went, "Oh my God, and she's going, there's a light out at sea." And she's saying it as he's finishing, she's starting. Yeah. So it's really strange.
Another interesting thing with the lights is some of us are seeing a flash of a light so quick, we're not sure if we've actually seen a light. But a lot of the time, one of us will say, "I think I've just seen a light there then." And somebody else will confirm it.
Yeah,
so I think there's sometimes where we see a light and it's that quick, you're just not sure and you don't really take any notice of it. But in reality, there is a light there. And as I say, another person has confirmed it if you do say it.
Yeah. Mark, while we're on with this light, tell us about the time that you'd got your torch, because you used to come down there hardly ever using your torch, and now you probably use your torch more than any of us. But what's changed? Why do you do that?
Well, it's obviously
we know why.
The orb or the light that I saw at the top of the hill. It was only there for maybe a second or two, and obviously you stood next to me and you saw it to confirm. Thankfully.
Oh, absolutely. We both said it at the same time.
We did, didn't we? But I just swept not out at sea, but behind us on the banking, at the top of the banking. I swept it across a bit too quick, and I went through it. And when I came back, it had gone. But when I went through it, it was an orb, a white coloured, maybe a tinge of yellow, I'm not sure, but a white coloured orb above the hill. And when I came back, it had gone. And now instinctively, I'll have a quick sweep. I know it's not going to be there again, but you instinctively have a look just to see if it's going to be there.
Well, your reaction, you went, oh, I went, did you see that? And it I looked at it like a little moon about the size of a 2p at arm's length.
Yeah.
Just really, really odd.
I remember that because I was stood. I didn't see it, but I remember hearing you saying, "Yeah, but it didn't quite sound like that." I think you might have even nearly.
Said something, well, we do say odd things, don't we?
But that's an odd
Occasionally.
thing. That's an odd thing where I caught that on my lamp. Maybe did I take it by surprise? Because when I came back, it had gone, and then all this time we haven't seen anything. But you've had your heat cameras up, and it's picked up something very similar on the heat camera.
That's correct. That's similar size.
Yeah.
Ian's thermal got that in thermal that obviously we couldn't see. So it's same thing. And what we need to add there, Mark, skies were clear, weren't they, that night?
Yeah.
You described it as looking like a small moon, didn't you, Paul?
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
it just took me by surprise. And now Mark's sort of sweeping that hill. I don't mean every 5 minutes, but quite often you're hoping that it'll replicate, aren't you?
Yeah.
You mentioned, sorry, Mark.
No,
You mentioned earlier, Paul, about the little blue lights that you'd seen.
Mm.
Am I right in saying that the last time you saw that was when we was in the corner looking for that thing that was sat down? I was looking for prints, and you said you saw it on my elbow.
I saw it on your elbow. On your elbow. That were in Woodland. I saw it again on your elbow. Well, after that night that Mark were there with us, I think, and I said I've just seen that blue light again. It's on your elbow, which is odd. I've seen it once since as well. So yeah, I have. Yeah, but at home. Right. So just weird. Let's see if there's any more.
I don't know if there's any connection, but that light we saw in the sea, maybe early this year or late last year, that bluey colour in the sea that was moving from left to right, and I could see one. And Paul, you said you could see two on the camera, didn't you?
Yeah.
That was well. I think that was well interesting. That.
Well, that there's the thing, you've just added another sort of element to all this, haven't you, Ian? Because we're talking about lights and everything. Lights below sea. It's great having Mark on because he's sort of backing up what we've been talking about. And that went from I'd have said that went from 2 o'clock right round to probably 9 o'clock. Did it, Mark? What do you think?
Yeah. But I could only see one largest one, but you pointed a smaller one out, didn't you?
But I was looking into psionics, weren't I? And that's really good in low light. That's why we got that.
But it's one of those things where it's as if it's one of those one-offs. We haven't seen it before or since.
No, that's true.
Well, you could see that with your naked eye. I was looking at it at thermal, but there was no thermal signature from it at all.
No,
there was nothing, and you was filming it through your psionics.
That's correct.
It wasn't really that far out, and it wasn't massive, but it wasn't small, was it?
No.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and I remember that. Now I mean, it sounds like we're forgetting things, and we do forget a lot of things, and we are trying to scribble things down. But I know sometimes you say, Paul, there's 90% of the time there's not a lot happens, but that's maybe not big things, but there's loads of small that's now becoming not insignificant really to us, but we're used to seeing these things, and it doesn't really play a major part in what we're seeing, but in the grand scheme of things, it is, and we should be taking more notice of it.
Well, they're all adding to collective. I mean, I'd not even thought about talking about lights under sea that Mark's just mentioned, and he's absolutely bang on. And then there were that former police officer up there with us earlier in the year, Gareth. Yeah. And you and Gareth, once again, it's same thing, Mark, that, Jack saw the light burst out at Rock, or that's how he said it appeared to him, and Amanda saw it. Ian and Gareth suddenly went, "What, did you see that? And what was that, Ian?" On surface, go on.
Yeah, it was summertime, so it was hardly dark. I mean, even sort of like 11 o'clock on the night time up there, it's not proper dark. You're not in the height of summer. You could clearly see the sea. You could see seabirds on the sea, all the rest of it. And it was maybe 200-300 yards out from the base of the cliff out to the sea. And to me, it just looked like a camera flash. And it was just there. And it was like, and Gareth saw it, I saw it. But there's nobody there. There's no one in a canoe or a little boat or anything. There's nothing. It shouldn't be there. Things like that shouldn't be happening.
Go
on, Matt.
And also, these blue lights in the sea, I mentioned, I can't remember his name. That chap that does a lot of fishing that hasn't been up for ages.
Nick Siggy.
Yeah.
Well, he's mentioned in the past the depth. So if you think there's a vessel or something under the sea that's lighting it up, he's pointed out there isn't enough depth under the surface for something to travel.
No,
Yeah.
substantial. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Because you're always going to get people saying, well, there might be a submersible under there, and there's a lot of rocks down there, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's pretty treacherous.
Yeah, it's very shallow. That part is very shallow until it gets quite a long way out. Boats don't really get that close in, and when they do, they usually stay there and turn into a wreck, don't they?
Yeah. There's a few boilers down there, isn't there? Ship boilers.
Yeah.
And right, so we got Michael here. Michael spent some time with us a few weeks ago, didn't he? Michael's the guy who's had that weird experience in Danes Dyke that we've talked about. So he'd be if we start try and do a live. What we'll do, Michael, we'll try and do the live stream and see if everything works before we get you driving down for 3 or 4 hours to get to us. Do you know what I mean? So and maybe do one in Danes Dyke too. It's a good idea.
Can I just, while we're talking about Michael and whatever, yeah, he's had some good experiences and he's a real nice bloke. I like Michael. He's a nice fella. He's run about things happening at home. Chris Mack, I mean, unfortunately, he hasn't come on tonight, and he might come on in the future. But he's had quite a few things happening at home, hasn't he?
He has, yeah.
I mean, again, I've seen, we have had different interactions and whatever. But what happened to Chris is, if he don't mind, well, I'm going to sell it anyway, whether he likes it or not. He said he woke up in the early hours and he thought he'd slept in for wet because his bedroom was illuminated. And what it turned out to be was his computer had turned on and it was his computer screen. And all the light from the computer screen was emitting and he thought he'd overslept. And he says, what's strange, he says, he hadn't had that computer on for about a month. And you have to press a big button on it to get it to work, which again in itself is odd. It's never done it before. It's possibly done it since. I don't know. But he says when he got up in the morning, his trousers was over the chair. He picked his trousers up and he says, and he nearly fell over because his trousers was zipped up, buttoned up, and his belt was fastened. And he says, why would I do that? He said, when I take my trousers off, obviously undoes the belt, undoes the button, undoes the fly, hangs them over the chair to put back on the next day. As a bloke, that's what you do. His trousers were zipped up, like I've just said. So there's some form of a physical thing it hasn't been a light or a noise. Something's actually touched his clothes.
It'd appear like that, wouldn't it? And I mean, if Chris ever comes on here, people will soon gauge that he's really quiet and he don't seem like he's into making fanciful stories up. And one other thing to add to that computer story, I think I'm right, Chris, if you're listening to this, your dad later told you that he'd passed your room and your computer were on again, but he'd not bothered telling you, and that was before you'd seen it. I'm sure that's what you said to me. So right. Yeah, it's just interesting. So let's just have a look here. Guys, is the light being now more familiar with you all, that it's now happy to show and perform? I don't know. Do you think we talked about this earlier, and I said, what if let's assume unexplained phenomena and certain aspects of it are really high tech and really high intellect, way above anything we've got. But what if there are forms of the unexplained that are low intelligence, and it's just wanting to interact? And when we hear Paul, it's just mimicking a name it's heard, like a bit like, I don't know. What's your views on that, Mark? Anything?
Well, we have pointed out, haven't we, where we are up on cliffs on that balcony, it's a vast area. There's no buildings or industrial. There's just fields and maybe just the RSPB unit. So whatever comes to us, it could be anywhere. But we are on that balcony. We've all said this. We are on that balcony, and it's there in and amongst us. Yeah.
Well, Mark that said that, weren't it, Ian? I remember him saying it, and it's a really valid point. And unless you think about it, you think, bloody hell, yeah, he's spot on with that. There's all East and North Yorkshire coastline for this interaction.
Everywhere it could go, yeah, you bang on, Mark. all the places it could go, but it's there where that group of fellas is. Whether it's becoming more familiar with us, and it's getting used to us. Let's see, like a little robin in your garden that eventually it sort of like befriends you and it gets closer to you, and you have some sort of interaction with it. Who's to know what it is really? I mean, but that light thing. I mean, I think you and Jeremy saw a small orb of light again on, was it Thursday night?
Thursday night, there were me, Jeremy, and Pete. And Pete's in now, so good to see you, Pete. Tried to get Pete on here, I said, you don't have to put camera on if you don't want to. He went, no, that all right.
He said he will come on, though.
Yeah, I will get him on.
Not at the moment. I mean, going back to the orb of light, I mean, you filmed him a little bit, and that to me, because he's a personal, I mean, he keeps himself to himself, does Pete, and to me that says, well, it speaks volumes really that he is happy to come on camera to talk, not live on this, but to talk about what was experienced up there, how special that experience was. Because usually, I mean, Pete's seen loads of stuff up there with us and stuff when he's been up there on his own and whatever, but he keeps it to himself and he don't want to spread it. But like I said, for him to want to talk about it on camera, it just proves how special and how different that thing was that night.
Yeah, and I think what it were, and I know, like Mark said, he were on peripheral of that circle. I think there were 7 of us, weren't there? Because like we said earlier, Mark, you came about an hour after, didn't you? That's what you normally about an hour later than us. And to hear Pete going, it was special. Like he says, we were like little kids because we see a light in the sky, or Mark sees that on hill, and I saw it with him, and you think, wow, that was brilliant. But whatever this was, it was with us. It was literally within. When I looked at Chris Mack's stomach, it had lit his stomach up. And you're looking at Pete, and Chris Mack's looking at Pete, and he said Pete's hand's glowing.
Yeah,
it's just absolutely.
And another thing, somebody brought the question up, and we were all consistent in his answer. I can't remember who asked it, but somebody said, "How did we all feel about that? We were frightened, but we know. I think we were all just interested and half amazed, weren't we?"
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was amazed. I really were, because we know that there's a reality to it because we've all experienced it, but to actually get something so close, and 7 people, 7 people, and I know you didn't see the orb, but you saw everybody sort of glowing and the light. Yeah, it was special. It was really special.
Another thing where these people are seeing the dark figure. Some people that are nothing to do with us that are walking on that have reported it, and I've not seen it at all. Why have all these other people seen it? And I've been up there umpteen times now, maybe twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, and I haven't seen it once.
No.
Why do some see it and some don't?
Well, it's but you. I've experienced something once that I think you experienced. Yeah. And that was fear. Do you want to tell us about that? Because you said you might not want to, do you?
Yeah, I'm easy saying it.
Go on then.
I've been out, as audience are listening, I've been out hundreds, maybe thousands of times, all over country, in woods, up hills, in the middle of nowhere. And sometimes you think, oh, what was that? Or, oh, that's a bit strange. But on this occasion, I parked in Bempton car park like I have hundreds of times, all as usual, walked to where the paths split off, and instead of walking down to the cliffs, just as I got onto the centre, I just felt the weirdest feeling, like as if there was somebody there, as if they were going to jump out. There were nobody there though. And I had my torch, I put my torch on, nobody there. So strange. And I thought, what have I to do? I've got to go that way. Anyway, I walked up the path to the top where the pond part is. And as I walked up the hill, it got stronger. And I've never had anything like that before. And it got stronger and stronger. And I got to the top where the bench is, and it really did feel like I were almost braced as if someday we're going to jump, and I kept putting my torch on, nothing. And I walked round to the back path. It was overwhelming then. And as soon as I stepped onto the path, it just lifted and went. And so strange. And I went back a night or two after just to test myself. And it didn't happen. The thought of it and the fear of it happening again were there. But the feeling I'd had that night didn't repeat. And I've been back loads of times. I've done that path to test me and nothing. So strange that.
That's what I find fascinating, Ian. When you'll say to Mark after the weekend, I don't mean every weekend, Mark. You say, "What you done this weekend?" And you say, "Oh, I went camping and I slept at the side of a river." You know, or I did this, or I did that. And am I wrong, Mark?
No. As I say, I have been to some. You know, it's like last summer I kept under that bridge. Didn't bother me at all. I had no thoughts or anything. But on that night, it was a different feeling. Yeah, very, very strange.
Have you thought about it much since when you're walking down there?
Yeah, I will think about it, but it doesn't kick that feeling in.
No.
Yeah,
That's strange.
It is strange, yeah.
So you kept that to yourself for a considerable amount of time, didn't you?
Sort of, yeah. I didn't realise other people had the same feeling. And I sort of mentioned it to you in brief. I had a strange, and then as soon as Paul or somebody else mentioned it, they'd had it. I sort of came out with it though and said, you know, everything what had happened. I felt quite, and maybe a lot of people are like that. They've had a strange encounter or feeling, and they're a bit embarrassed in the day to say out about it. But no, once you had said one or two of you had the same thing, and people that had come to Bempton, they'd had the same thing. It sort of makes you feel a bit better about it. Really.
Yeah, you feel more open about speaking about it. I had it probably 20, I don't know, 17-ish. So it's a good while since, and I was Steve Ashbridge. We were at Danesdyke, North Side, and I've spoken about it before, so I won't go into loads of detail, but I felt frightened, and like there were eyes all over me. Like, I just don't know. You've only got the sea to right and open fields to left, and there's a cat there. And yeah, there you go. And yeah, just fear.
This is a real one.
This is a real one. Yeah, absolutely.
We hope so.
So let's just have a look at this. Paul Barrett, Ian, the shadow you've seen clearly had an impact on you. How do you think you would react seeing it again? Does it make you anxious and leave you feeling a bit scared?
If I saw it again, I'd be more respectful, because I've seen loads of shadow things up there. I mean, I am trying to boast about it in any way, shape, or form. But the last proper that dark mass that I saw, what I said to it, I can't repeat on here, but I said something to it, and it came straight back at me, and it wasn't very friendly. So I had to take a step back from it and sort of semi-bow down to it, let's say, and acknowledged it and give it respect, and it went. And then a week later, I went up there to sort of like make me peace with it, let's say, because I felt like an invader into its territory, let's say. It was, yeah, I mean, who are you type of thing. That's what I got back in a roundabout way. So, yeah, I don't particularly. Well, I don't want to come across that again. Odds on we probably will do, but in whatever shape or form. I mean, sorry, I'll spit it out now because I'm sort of like thinking about it too much. I have been aware of it, but I can't see it. But I've been aware of it's there, and I sort of like give it a nod as if to say, all right, pal, not that it's my friend, but acknowledge it. And up to now, that seems to have worked. Whether I'm doing the right thing or the wrong thing, I don't know. That's just me. But yeah, if I feel threatened by it, then it's going to get the best I can back to sort of like push it away, which I've had to push things away like that in the past. But no, you've got to treat that definitely with respect. Definitely.
Okay, thank you. Mark, are you all right for time still?
Yeah, I'm easy. Yeah.
Okay, we've gone till about 9 if you want, but if not, just let us know because I don't want to keep anybody. Right. Would you consider? Rachel says, would we consider trying CE5 protocol? That's the Stephen Greer sort of meditation. Well, we would, and I see Deb Shaw's in because I just say something to Gemma and Deb and team of people that she works with. They've been on cliff tops, and I think they've tried. Well, I know they've tried it up there. I tried it with Martin Abbas in Danesdyke, and not exactly CE5, but Ian will know what I'm meaning here. When we got the light visitation, we'd all been doing it. We'd all been meditating, just sat in quiet and sat in silence.
Yeah.
Not just that day, but for probably a week or 2 weeks before, sort of just trying to let mind go blank, trying to be open with surroundings. And we only mentioned this today as well, Ian, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I think what you're going on about is, we have been quiet and we have tried to, I don't know, generate something. Let's say, is that what you're meaning? And with the CE5 thing, I mean, I think there was one night when Martin was leading. Was the 11 of us up there?
Yeah. Yeah. So I see. Just 1 second. Rick Allen saying, I am putting my email address up for someone in chat. Could you please remove it after a minute or so? Yeah, I won't put your email address up, to be honest with you, anybody, if you don't want to do it. So if that's you, Gemma, don't, or anybody don't, So there you go. So let's have a look. Sorry, as things seem to be getting bolder with you guys at Bempton, how far do you all think these experiences could get to? I don't know. I really don't know because it's evolving. Anybody? Yeah. I mean, it's changing, isn't it? I mean, I think probably a couple of years ago, Mark had come up and we'd stand and we'd be thinking, I wonder if we're going to see these orange spheres of light. I wonder if we're going to see and everything seems to be getting closer. It seems a bit more personal. Whatever's interacting seems more personal. But I couldn't predict what's going to happen or what ain't going to happen because just when you think you've got an handle on it, it changes, doesn't it?
It does. Does it look like some of these are separate, like the lights in the sky? Are they connected to the dark figures? I don't think so.
No.
The small lights, I don't think though. I think they're separate, but they could be connected. But what do we know? It's a very difficult one, isn't it?
It is, but you bring a good point up because there'll be some people that think. I think it's probably connected, Mark. As in it's unexplained phenomena, but whether it's the same thing, I think you're right. I don't think it's the same thing necessarily, but what do I know? There'll be some people that swear by it. There'll be some people who'll come up there who are interested because they've heard us talking and think everything's spirit. And ghostly. You remember Fisherman, Mark and Ian, and they called that sphere of light the ghost of Big Railings.
Yeah.
So we're not unique to this. Anybody listening to this, the rock anglers have been up on them cliff tops well over 50 years, probably 50 years before the ones that are up there now, because there's some of them been fishing them cliff tops like 40 and 50 years, and that's not a lie, is it? Mick Sixon's in his 70s, and they've all seen the lights on the ground or at head height, and they call it the ghost of Big Railings, the sphere of white light that they think is the ghost of a fisherman. So it's interpretation, isn't it?
Again, it's the interpretation is like the White Lady of Danesdyke, which turns out to be a white sphere of light. So Danesdyke to the cliffs is not very far at all. I mean, you can see it from up there. It's not very far at all. So what's to say it isn't the same thing? And going back to the original question, I think it's multiples. There's definitely multiples of that's what I believe. Some of it is spirit, no doubt about it in my mind. Some of it is totally, I haven't a clue. Can't get my head around it. Can't fathom that out. But one thing is for sure is in that area, for whatever reason it is, whether it's stuff that's happened in the past, people have evoked these things, or it's been happening there for thousands of years, which it probably has. For some unknown reason, that area is an area of high strangeness in all sorts of ways, shapes, or form. I mean, we've had physical interaction there, we've had audio, we've caught things on video, we've caught things that shouldn't be there, but they are there. We've filmed it, be it in thermal, be it in infrared, audios. Like I've said, there's all sorts there. People have felt absolutely petrified and creeped out up there. What is it? There's got to be multiples of things that's coming into a thin area for some reason.
I agree. And
I also think it's a multiple of things. I think some of those lights in the sky are maybe government,
man-made,
that are beyond what we'd recognise that have been developed, but maybe they're not. But that's my point of view on some of those things in the sky. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're spot on.
But what we see down in and amongst us, I don't know. That's a difficult one to think. I don't know. Very strange.
It is. And we're talking about a bottom at cliffs, and this might not be unexplained phenomena, but it's unexplained. I don't know what month it was, but earlier in the year, myself and Ian filmed heat at the bottom of the cliffs. I've just got Ian's thermal footage. I couldn't find my own, and I've got it. It's on here. Mine's in red hot. I think yours is probably in white hot. But we were filming bottom at cliffs. It's a rough sea. It's washing up at the cliff face. There shouldn't be no heat down there, and there's a monstrous heat signature. And I'll just play that and see what you think, because it's unexplained whether it's within the woo or whether it's natural phenomena that shouldn't be there. So we'll have a look at this. I don't know whether you've seen it, Mark, have you?
No, I haven't. No.
Okay. So you'll know where we are when you look at it. We're near the staple.
Right.
Do you see that? Heat signature.
Yeah.
Them cliffs are about 240 foot high there. That's the North Sea on a rough night. It's very cold.
So is that a length of something with 2 or 3 points protruding out of the sea?
Mark, I wish I knew, mate. It's just a strange one. I mean, I've got it on mine as well, which is showing red hot. But if you look at the heat, it's hitting that cliff face and it's taking looks like it's taking warm water out with it. I know some people want to talk about cryptids, UFOs and things, but these things interest us still. I'll just give it one more go. You must have been a bit cold there, Ian. You're shaking about a bit.
It was freezing and windy.
Yeah. Shouldn't be heat there.
Nothing.
So is there a length of temperature running under that light? I can see another little light at end.
I can see other one, Mark, but I honestly I don't know, mate. You know, you're looking at what we can see now. We couldn't see that with naked eye. Remember?
No.
This is a thermal camera that's picking this up. I'm looking at. Let's have a look. Cliff heat. Remove that. So I mean. Is that a natural phenomena where someone's venting that nobody's
looking at that, if it's a single heat point, I can't scale what size it is, but off the top of my head I would say a large seal, but it looks as if there's a column of heat running along and then another dot of heat coming out of the water as well. So after that it outscales the size of a seal.
Well, I think it's. I don't know what Ian thinks, but I think that's big. Can you imagine, Mark? We're looking down into that cove.
Yeah.
You know that you've heard Mick Sigson, fishermen, say when you get down there, them boulders are as big as cars.
Yeah.
And that's a big area. That. What do you think, Ian?
I mean, because there's about 3 different variants of that in different colour palettes. So I've looked at it many times. I mean, on some of it, because we've got quite a lot of footage of that. When I pan away from it, you can actually see seabeds in the crevices of the cliff, and that to me must be 20-25 feet in diameter. But what's strange and really strange is the sea washes up, and on some of the video that we've got is when the sea's coming away, the sea itself is actually heated up. And I've never seen it there before. And I always look down there on my thermal to see if it's going to do it again. And yeah, someone's going to say, yeah, there was a lot of wobble. There is a lot of wobble because I was literally holding it against my face, trying to keep my eye on it against the North Sea in the middle of the winter time. And there shouldn't be anything producing that amount of heat. That was the absolutely hottest thing there. I mean, I don't know what temperature it'd be, but it was the absolute hottest thing is partially under the sea. And then when the waves hit it, it's under the sea. So even if it had warmed up throughout the summer, it'd still never leave a heat trace like that on the sea. I mean, a panorama, like I said, you can see seabeds huddled up together in the cracks, and there's nothing like that.
They're like little dots as well.
The tiny little dots. I mean, it's huge. It's massive. These are the points on there that's hot, but it's all the bottom of that cliff. I think there's about 3 different areas. That is, it's an immense heat source. It shouldn't be there.
It shouldn't be, no. What were you going to say, Mark?
So yeah, I'd try and pick out the explainable first, and that's where I saw it. And I'd try to say, is it the size of a seal or is it bigger? But as he's just pointed out, it's way bigger than a seal if it's running under the surface. And I did see 1 or 2 points coming out of the water further down. So it just shows
there's quite a bit more of that, Mark. So we'll probably put all of it up and put mine up, and we'll have a look at that. I'll just put this up here. Is there any tech gear that none of you have that you would like to aid seeing the phenomena on the cliffs? Perhaps there is so much not seen. That's a good point. And we do use thermal cameras, and we've got quite a few. We must have about 8 or 9 low light cameras now. But I suppose as well as tri-field meters and Geiger counters, we've all sorts of equipment. But we're self-funding, aren't we? And MP, so we're limited to what we can actually invest in it. I mean, I've just spent a couple of grand on another camera. It'll probably never come up there, that one, because I'm using it for other things. But the thermal cameras are in a similar price range. They're not cheap, are they?
No, but as that viewer was asking, is the things up there what we haven't seen? Well, with your, I think it was thermal camera a few months ago, you'd had it set, nobody saw anything, you didn't see anything on your camera. Then when you got it home and went through what it were viewing, you picked a distinct, well, it were amazing, wasn't it? That orb in the field.
Yeah, the orb were absolutely incredible. And it is a good few months ago. What Ian captured, you mean?
Yeah.
And Carl Dan got one. I wouldn't say not as good, but it's a bit sort of jagged, and that's a perfect orb what Ian's captured there.
There's definitely on Carl's footage. There's definitely something there. That's again, it's something that for that size, it shouldn't be there. I mean, you looked through your Psionics, night vision camera. They're a good camera. You couldn't see anything there. And if it was a car, which it wouldn't have been a car in that place, you'd have seen it. But Carl picked it up. So there was something, again, that was there that shouldn't be there. But back to the question is, even if we had, unlimited resources monetarily, we still wouldn't be able to leave anything up there because it's public place. But if we did, and we could leave equipment up there
monitoring 24/7,
24/7, and people monitoring it, who's to know? I mean, our time, we spend hours and hours up there. In the grand scheme of things, it's only limited, innit? And we don't know what's being seen, potentially seen throughout the daytime. I mean, you've got plenty of daytime sightings from people. But then when we go home, sometimes, we stay there really late. But what happens then? Does these things come out to play after we've gone? Are we just catching a little bit of it, which we're catching something? But the grand scheme of things, I mean, there must be everything and anything can be happening there.
It's so interesting, like all hours at day, and we're getting people reporting stuff to us as well. And it seems concentrated. I'm always interested in Speeton because at reports I get out of Speeton, we're getting such little footfall compared to everywhere else. And I just, when people talk about, oh, you're going to Bempton and that's the hot spot, me personally, I think probably Speeton's more active, but it's just hard to get to. It's inaccessible, you know.
Yeah.
So
It's quite treacherous in places, isn't it?
well, I put that big cat film on that I did with Chris Wright when we went to Broxer Forest, and I put it onto YouTube. And I went, all right, this into unexplained phenomenon. It's big cats. But there's a lot of people putting comments. I saw one at Caton. I saw one at Speeton. I saw one just on outskirts between Speeton and Bempton. But Speeton keeps coming up. It comes up in a lot of things. I mean, I don't know how much time you've spent at Speeton, Mark. You'll have been around them places a lot, I presume. But you're not experienced, though.
No, not, no, nothing at all, really. No. But in the past, you've had that. Those sheep, haven't you?
There were the sheep that got killed, should we say? Yeah, and we've got to be careful how we choose his words with this with YouTube. But yeah, and that particular farmer lost 50 sheep, and I'm not saying 49 or 51. It was 50 sheep when that petered out, and that was between I think 2017 and 2019. And I were on them fields with a thermal camera, as I've said before, at 4:30 in the morning, because you've got loads of people who never leave their chair watching these things and saying, well, it just be people. You know how inaccessible. We'll not say exactly where it was, Mark or Ian, but you know how inaccessible. You've got a good walk to get to them fields, and there's nothing there apart from North Seaham fields.
And like I pointed out earlier with a cat's territory is massive, and that lasted only for so long. It started and then it stopped. There were no little bits before or after, were there? I don't think. No, it started 20. But I'll tell you what interesting, getting back to animal fatalities, there were also badger, fox and roe deer. And a lot of them were suffering the same fate, which were ears removed, eyes removed and facial stripping. I don't know what we're doing it. And you know, I'm not going to say it were aliens because I've just got no idea what we're doing it. I'll tell you what I don't think we're doing it. People. You know, I really don't. And the strangest one that I came across, you know, you're both into both know farmers and around farms. So most at sheep, most at lambs have a number sprayed on the side of them, don't they?
Yeah.
You know, they're numbered up.
Yeah.
Blue spray paint, and I think it was number 35. And this field, there were two fields with a big fence going across Middlemark. I think you know where they are, and I know Ian knows where they are. 400 sheep on field at its busiest. That's what he had. And I used to go up 2 or 3 times a week, and he'd do other days, but he'd probably not go early between 8 and 9. I'd be there at 4:30 because I want to catch what we're doing it. And when I went onto this field, thermal camera, it's dark. Then I drop into that wood, do my little grid search, and I came out, but he'd already told me. He says, I've lost a lamb. He said it's gone missing. He says, but it weren't like a newborn. It were about as big as a spaniel or a Labrador type sized, you know. So I said, all right then. And he said he'd lost this lamb. He said, and that's gone. He says, so keep your eye out when you go in wood or if you see it or anything. So I did my morning search. There was nothing there. Thermal camera. It's just getting light. There's nothing there. I came out and sort of walked back out, shut big gate behind me. It's split in 2 fields and looked up the field where I'd walked previously, looking straight down at it. I didn't bother looking up as I'm coming back. I see this white outline. And I go up to it, and it's a lamb. It's got its front left leg missing, which is a trait that a lot of them had, and same injuries as what I'd told you before. It had been missing about 3 days, and it weren't bloated. It didn't smell. It was cold. And I waited till about 8, 9 o'clock, and I rang him up. I said, I found a lamb. And I said, is it number 35? He goes, yeah. I says, well, it's in field, but it weren't there. He says, this is mentality at farmer. And I don't mean this disrespectful because I really like the man. Loads of time for him. Lovely fella. He said a fox must have brought it back. There was nothing eaten. But he'd not, in his mind, he couldn't accept that there was something really odd going on here. It was there in field. It weren't there at 4:30 in the morning. And area, there's no people around there, is there? Oh. It's a weird kind of trick to play. If you're going to do that, I'll run across field with this lamb and place it there. This will spook him. Yeah, odd. I don't know.
It's not going to happen, is it?
No,
in the
I don't think so. No,
it's not going to happen. I mean, I just think that's him trying to rationalize something that he knows, or he'd have known that was.
Well, to stay with that one, 28th of July 2017, I'd been on Cliff Lane, and I met up with one of the lads who comes up to Cliff Tops with us. Well, I met up with him later in the day, and he said, I found a deer on Cliff Lane this morning, just in verge. So you think, cars may probably knocked it down. 28th of July 2017. And he's in chat, so he'll know what I'm on about. I says, oh, yeah. He says, but what Audie says, because in its side, like a flue pipe for a boiler, it's about 3-inch round, isn't it? The pipe that goes through a wall. He said it's got a perfect, like cookie cutter, all straight through it. No blood, just that. And I'm sorry for sounding macabre, people, but let's say how it is. So where am I going with this? When I met up with Farmer, because I got involved with the sheep fatalities a little bit after, and when I met up with him, I sat in his kitchen and he'd got a diary of a list of all sheep that had gone missing. And he says, most strangest thing that happened, he says, I went to sheep to tend to them one day, he says, and we'd been running them through these troughs to treat the feet for parasites and what have you. He says, and they hate it. He said, so we funnel them in and they go through it, they have to run through it, and then they're into another part that contains them. He said, and they know, they can smell it. I've got 2 dogs. He says, it's hell of a job doing it. He says, and we got half of them through this particular day, what we wanted to do. And we left sheep runs open. And they held, I think it was 6 or 7 sheep, nose to tail, with these corrugated panels that you two will know exactly what I'm on about, and it's just a narrow channel. He says, I came to sheep this morning. He says, and I couldn't believe what I was looking at. He said, there's 30 sheep in it, piled on top of one another, hanging over the sides. He says, and they were just rammed tight into it. He says, and I just can't believe it. So I'm unpegging them. He says, they're not deceased. There were 2 that had passed away. He says, due to heat or exhaustion or fear, he don't know which, but at the bottom. But my point is, I says, well, when was that then? He went, 28th of July, 2017. And I went, hold on. And I got this book out in front of him, so he didn't think I'd written it at the same time. I said, look at that. Deer, Cliff Lane, 3-inch hole cut through the side, 28th of July, 2017. Now, is that just a coincidence? We're literally we're not within miles of this spot. Let's just put it that way. So I found that too much of a coincidence. I don't know if I told you that, Mark.
No, but it's interesting how them sheep were all cooped up together. Because obviously sheep react with each other. They follow each other and the behaviour is all consistent with each other. And they've all done the same thing. Something's
held on top of one another, Mark.
Yeah.
And he said, he says you couldn't get them in there without a lot of effort with 2 dogs. He said, because they just hated that going through that solution. Must have stung the feet or something. I don't know what it does. Treats the feet. There's a little dip in bottom of it for them to run through. So, your guess is as good as mine. I see John Paul Bodies in here. Good to see you, John. Still got the most incredible story. We want John on Cliff Tops. When you hear what he's got to share, it's just incredible. Let's have a look what we've got here. Has anyone captured anything using a psionics device? Yeah, we use them. I think there's about 4 of them up there, Terral. So they're all right. They don't always depict correct colour, but they're good, aren't they?
Yeah, they're a good low light, definitely a good low light camera. I mean, unfortunately, sometimes when we put the footage up or you put the footage up from the psionics camera, it does look grainy. But what people's got to realise is that's in pitch black, absolutely pitch black. And I think what they do is little bits of light from the outside and whatever, they scavenge that and try and create an image. So it's very difficult unless you're spending absolutely thousands of pounds on something that we'll see in total darkness with no other form of illumination. And when you put an IR, like an external IR infrared illuminator with them, they're fantastic. I mean, they're fantastic without the IR illumination anyway. They are good. Very good. I
love the people who read comments afterwards, who comment afterwards and saying, why don't they use have they ever thought of using a GoPro? Why don't they film? And you just can't see anything with a GoPro.
No
it's just
comparison, is he?
no comparison, none at all. I don't know what this one applies to. Does Mark or Ian? Sounds like the demon dogs from Ghostbusters. I'm not sure what that applies to. Light. Anybody?
I can't. I remember the film Ghostbusters, but I haven't got a clue what the demon dogs would sound like.
Right. Okay. We've got some here from Rick Allen. The aliens not only engineer the cryptids, they also engineer animals such as deer to have physical differences to make us question what we are seeing. Well, I'm not going to argue with you, Rick, because I don't know. Do you know?
It could be, couldn't it? Because we don't know, do we? We really don't know. I mean, we've spoke quite a few times about things mimicking things, and is that what all of it is? Does it mimic and try and fit in? And is it doing that? Who's to know? I mean, we'll probably the only time we'll know is when we go to meet our maker or whatever. Then it all might be revealed.
Yeah, well, you know, one man's sort of demon is another man's alien, isn't it? You know, we're all looking at from our own narrative and our sort of cultural beliefs. Really, the experience we have sort of is all built around that, isn't it? I'm not necessarily saying that these things are alien. I'd like to remain open and say I really don't know. All I know is that there's a reality to what we're looking at and what we're dealing with. Can I just say as well, because we've had well over 300 people in chat all night, up to 350. It's right again, it says subscribe. Give it a press because it's totally free and you're just supporting us a little bit. I'd appreciate that if you don't mind, please like and subscribe. So yeah, let's just.
The other thing, Paul, on your shoulder as well, isn't he? Behind you, your books.
Oh Christ, yeah, I forgot about them. Anybody interested in the Truth Proof books? Truthproof.uk. So you got 4 of these, and then you've got Night People, which is about my own experiences, and then Wolfland's DVD, which I didn't think. I say it every week. I didn't think anybody would be interested in DVDs, but if I sold one today, it'll go in post tomorrow morning. And you can also watch Wolflands on Amazon Prime, and you can get the Kindle versions of the books via Amazon as well. Thanks, Ian. I forgot about that. And yeah, and let's have a look. Oh, I don't know if there's any more questions. We're just about wrapping it up. Peter Leach. Right, let's have a look, Peter. Hi, guys. Has there been any reports of howls being heard in the dike recently, i.e. October? You know about this, Peter. Not so much the owls, but you've an incredible story to tell. I know you have. Yeah, there were some people on Lighthouse Road, which is anybody familiar with area, sort of you're not far from Danes Dyke, and their bedroom windows sort of opened onto that. Lady comes in chat. That's why she was so interested. And I think it was twice in October they'd heard what they described could be animals. You know, they might have got it wrong, but don't forget, if you've lived there years and years, you get used to hearing fox, deer, and everything else. But they described it as sounding like a person in distress, screaming, something howling from a horror film, and a basset hound, all sort of mixed into one. Interestingly, security guard, Danes Dyke, Dean, when he were working up there, he described it hearing a similar thing. And when I said hitting, the reason I say that is because he were with his dogs walking around the perimeter, and he said the sound were close to him and it hit him like a sonic boom in his chest. And his dogs, which were, I think he'd got 3 staffies at the time, ran back to Dean's apartment, absolutely frightened to death, whatever it was. He says, and it were close to me. So I don't know. So strange sounds. October. The like Michael's just been in saying he'd be up for a live on the cliff tops or in Danes Dyke if we went live and did that. Now October is when Michael had his experience. October is when the guy stood at the bus stop had his experience. There's another one from October, all different years, but October. Why that month? Anybody got any views?
Was the October one the lady and a friend who was in the car when they saw something?
Yeah,
that was October as well, wasn't it?
I think that one were October. I don't want to nail that one to mast with that one, but I think it was actually, yeah, and that literally lit car headlights up, and there it was. But she didn't describe something looking like a cryptid. She described looking at a giant wolf with orange eyes that literally were looking at them. And
Maybe,
go on, mate.
maybe another thing where you're on about different times and that. You get to end of winter and it starts to die off. We go through summer, we go up there in evenings as it's lighter, and it just thins out. And then as soon as autumn comes back and winter, it starts to happen. All the different things start to come again, don't they? We do still get things in summer, but it isn't as consistent as winter.
Yeah, I think you're right. Well, I know you're right. He is, isn't he, really? Is that partly us then, do you think, Mark? Do you think we're, in some ways, I don't mean we're creating it, but in some ways we're evoking it because we're not expecting it. It seems it's daylight, I know it's going to happen. You've not got that atmosphere. What's your thoughts?
It could be, but as Ian pointed out, when we go up there, whatever time we go, 10, half 10, 11 o'clock, when we leave, does this carry on? Are we just seeing things at the start of it and we've gone at 11 o'clock? Does it work the same way in summer? We go till it's come dark, have another half an hour and we've gone. So with the difference in light, in summer, do these strange things kick in at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, like Ian pointed out?
Yeah, you could be right.
The other thing I thought you was going to say, Mark, is with wintertime coming, there's all the leaves have gone. There's no foliage, and you can see a lot further into the woodland, can't you? That's what I thought you was going to say.
Right.
When you think of it in the grand scheme of things, if you shine a torch into foliage, it just bounces back at you. You don't see very far. But in wintertime, you can see a lot deeper in. And if so much mulching about, it's more visible in wintertime than it would be in summer.
And even your depth in your fields dropped, hasn't it? There's not the thick cover in the fields or on the bankings like you're saying with the woods.
Yeah,
well, that implies something physical then, doesn't it? Not something that's slipping out. But I don't know.
I think a lot of it has to be physical. Certainly the cats. As for the dogmen type of thing, how can something like that be here all the time? I can't really see how it could be. I can't really see how that could be.
This is a bit more grounded. Paul, you have mentioned many times about reports of a metal door at the base of the cliffs at Bempton Speeton. Is it not time to make a concrete effort to find it, explore it? Have you heard about this, Mark?
I've heard of not a concrete metal door, but I have heard...
Well, a metal door. Did I say concrete?
You did.
No, make a concrete effort, not a concrete door.
Concrete effort.
No. I've heard of a doorway on the cliffs, but I've never actually seen it.
No, and I speak to a lot of anglers who on exceptionally low tides get as far out as they can. And now I've been to submarine. I think you have, haven't you, Mark?
Yes, twice.
Yeah, so I've been twice. It nearly killed me the first time, so I went with the dog. I ended up carrying it and carrying him. But you can get further round. So Andy Barmby, you've heard me mention him loads of times. Mick Sigson, I think Mick's been there over 40 years fishing. They've all heard of it. They've not seen it, but they know fishermen that have. But there's been a lot of rock falls. And when it comes down and you look at the massive rock that comes down, if there were anything around there, it could be covered. It's supposed to be near a link to old RAF base. Whether it does or not, I don't know. I have mentioned it before, Beer, but it's not something that I don't mean I'm not interested in. Of course, I'm interested in it, but I think it'd be quite dangerous to try and get round to make a concrete effort to actually see it. Or
maybe you've got a contact that's confident with a good drone that could explore some cliff. Maybe have a look down with it.
Although, that I think at RSPB, they've got a no-fly zone drone.
What about that?
Yeah, we're probably stuffed with that one. And it's looking like we're just about up for time, lads. Really appreciate you coming on, Mark. It's absolutely brilliant just hearing you share some of your views. I mean, I don't know whether you'd want to come on again at some point, would you?
Yeah, I'll come on again. I think we've had a good variety. We've had a bit of all sorts on, really, haven't we?
Well, yeah, there's questions I've missed here. I have been experiencing paranormal since I can remember, and I'd love to come out with you guys. I've spent hours there in the day and seen nothing. Does all the activity happen at night? No, it doesn't, Andrew. No, There's the stuff we get reports. I'll tell you now. I've had reports even from people at the RSPB, and you know, and I get a lot of reports from police officers, and I don't mean like just one. I get quite a lot of reports from police officers. Not that matters, but there's a lot of people experiencing this, and I know that weren't your question anyway. Well, does it happen in daytime? Yeah, it does.
Yeah, definitely.
So, on that note, guys, I'm going to say thank you very much, Mark. Thank you, Ian. And we'll see everybody next Sunday.
No, you're welcome. Thank you very
Good
much,
night,
Mark.
everyone. Take
Thank
care.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, wow. Saw it twice. So I was like, oh my God.
That was just weird.
I always used to see a light coming up,
Yeah.
like a headlight, but there was nobody there.